The Daily Humans podcast welcomes you. I am Ashley.
And I'm Nina.
And this is, for the very last time of 2025, what's in our TikTok collection?
Let's go.
We have some juicy topics to talk about today. Very juicy, so hot. Have you seen them on the stove? They're burning. So we've got a good roll up today. We've it up. We're ready. But before we start, we like to dive into some general conversation, just a little small talk, the things that we don't like, but we like to do that. So what's your vibe, Nina? How's your dreams?
Let's not talk about that. How have your dreams been?
Let's not talk about that.
You would not believe what I had in my dreams last night. You think you could escape it. It can never be escaped from. No. And that's honestly probably for the best that I do not discuss what happened last night in my dreams.
One episode, maybe an episode about dreams. You might find out then, but
don't know about that. But we think about it.
We could put it like way down the episode and then put like a warning, like a pre-warning before it's mentioned. But let's be honest, how many people have a similar story? I reckon many would.
I hope not. I hope that I am the first and the last human on this earth who has had that happen in a dream.
I don't know, my friend. And with the shit, with the stuff we've talked about with dreams and the stuff we've been through in dreams, I do not doubt for a second that I would love to hear other people's insane dreams, like absolutely out there to the point where you're like, nah, this ain't reality. So where did this come from? That kind of content. Ooh, that would be such a conversation. You know how everyone is putting up videos on TikTok and they're saying things like, give me your most insane breakup story. What did your ex do? One of those, like, what's the craziest out of this world, something that actually doesn't really happen in real life dream that you've had that's rocked you. You've woken up and thought, where did this come from?
Yeah.
What the actual fruit? Yeah. I'd like
you
to
could
know.
Crowdsource. Yeah, it's been an idea in our books for a little while. So if you guys are listening to this and you have some crazy dreams, maybe drop it in the comments, message us, put it on TikTok, whatever it may be. We shall find it. But yeah, it would actually be really cool to do like a whole dream episode where we talk about not just our dreams, but also maybe other people's dreams as well that they've sent in. That would be really interesting.
That would be, yeah. I mean, I have spoken before it was 2023. The entire year I had ghost face. So yeah, I've spoken about that plenty of times now.
Yeah.
I hate that. I can't swear. We're not 10 minutes in yet.
I will say this, before we started this, before we came on, we had some technical difficulties, and I woke up this morning not in a good mood from what I dreamt last night, and then Ashley was like on the verge of crashing out. So we're meeting today's topics, I think, with a little bit more intensity than usual, maybe. And if in case you're wondering why, well, we're really holding on to the last bits of our sanity.
You may even know that other episodes that have been posted, internet has just been a shit show. Just know that we do everything in our power for that not to happen.
Yeah.
But early 2000s is still the vibe for the internet. Clearly. I mean, mine needs a freaking cord for it to work. So yeah, I have not aged. I'm still 18 at this point. If the internet wants to act like it's back there, yeah, well, good. I'm 16 then. Hi. I'm 16. Yep. Done. I don't actually want to be 16. That was a hell time. I'll be back to 29.
Yeah, it would be really nice if the internet gods would allow internet to be used and worked through correctly without any issues, but it seems to be a global thing right now anyway. I have a lot of friends who are having technical difficulties, internet problems, myself included. So you're not the only one, Ash. We
How
shall hold hands.
mm-hmm. Holding it tight. And we're both raging, so we're just like using that to.
Yeah.
I don't know how other podcasts just seem to have such flawless internet, just flawless. I think maybe it's just the technology of like what you figured out with maybe recording a separate recording on my end and then a separate one on your end. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe there's other ways of getting the perfect quality without interruptions being shown, but we don't know fully. And frankly, yeah. This is the
It's
Daily
cool.
Human podcast. This is the human thing.
This happens in real life, in your real human life. We are humans, even though sometimes I wonder, because sometimes I feel like an alien on planet Earth.
I would rather be one. I feel like they'd have a lot more decorum. I feel like they'd have a lot more humility at this point. You know what? Aliens are winning. You know the movie Independence Day? They lied. That's not going to happen. They're going to come down here and take us away. The rapture. The rapture. That's the real rapture.
I have Natasha Bedingfield's Pocket Full of Sunshine in my head where she's like, take me away to another place, take me away. Whatever that song goes.
Let's just start playing that song now. Well, oh, guys, I hope you're all doing well. I know these are crazy times, but we do what we can, right?
Yes.
We do what we can. So to drive us into our first topic, like in a nice red car, boom, boom, into the first topic. Sit back, listen, get comfortable, have a drink, have a snack. I'd love a snack. Have a snack. And yeah, let's do it. First episode. First episode.
First
First
episode.
topic of conversation.
Speaking of the internet, yeah. This one is it's a big topic, but we're condensing it down to the avenues in which it goes to, like a little river going into a creek. But please know that there is a lot more to all of these discussions. The first clip that I sent to Ash is of this woman who discovered an app. I will keep it nameless simply because I'm pretty sure you'll find out anyway if you really are about that life, but I would kind of just like to live in my little part of the brain where things like this don't exist. But now there are certain apps online that enable you to register your facial biometrics data and, kind of like TikTok, use it as a social media form. So you scan your face, they have your facial data, and you can essentially make AI videos of yourself, or aka deepfakes of yourself. And that's what we shall talk about today for the first one. Isn't that exciting? Somebody just taking your face and doing whatever they want with it, because you can share each other's biometric data. You can other people on the app who you don't know. As long as it's enabled as, yes, you can take my face, they can take your face. And they're going to take a lot more than just that, honey.
Wow.
Ashley, why don't you take it away?
No worries. The aliens came down, they looked at us and thought, wow, this is what you guys created with the time you have here. Fabulous. You really love hurting each other. You really love it. You're obsessed with it. I'm getting to a point where I actually think that human beings are obsessed with hurting each other. Realistically, AI, what was the point of creating that? To help humanity. But yet, knowing humanity and knowing elements of humanity and the fact that you can't put an assumption on the psychology of humanity, even though pedophilia is so widespread in the world, AI just basically gives that approval to use it to fulfill the most violent acts that human beings can commit. So I always come back to that question of I don't know why we keep inventing things that essentially, if you look at the list of the pros and the cons, I think the majority is filled with cons and actual pros because of how people can warp it into something that benefits themselves, but not benefit as in helping themselves, something to do with fueling a in-depth dark desire, I'll say. So frankly, I guess my conversation of this is also the fact that putting your faith, like trying something, because when something new comes out, like people being able to put themselves with their loved ones who have passed on, I will be the first to admit that I do think that's amazing. I do, yes, 100%. But at the same time, is there a safety wall around that? So you can just do that and then nothing external happens from there.
Mhm.
Instead, you have people that try these things out and then they have issues where their face has been put in their actual selves have been put in a video that they actually had no participation in. And someone's created this fake scenario using them. And the fact that that can happen, Marjays. How many fake videos can be created using words and saying sentences that you didn't actually say, whether it's warped in racism or homophobia, just to get outrage or just, oh my gosh, if you dislike someone and someone uses that to create collective hatred of this person, it's just my whole thing is whenever you put something out, you're putting it out to a general public that have their own psychology that has been morphed through their life and through their lineage. So I always think back to the thing that, yes, we can't control it to the full extent of that, but I would think of it like the benefit. Is that outweighing the cons? Is that greatly outweighing the possibilities? I would have extended myself to do as much research as possible, including go to the depths of the dark web, essentially, and the things that are happening around that, which is a whole different discussion. But I would think of these things and then realize like maybe this isn't something that's going to benefit humanity. So which way can we move it where it actually will and it's actually protected and it's actually safe?
It's
Yeah.
really interesting because I've been part of this kind of like online how technology, AI, supercomputers as well are kind of developing over the years. And years back, um, there was a documentary about it, the social dilemma, or something like that. I can't remember the title correctly, but there are researchers, there are people in the industry that have warned and done tours trying to talk to people and tell them about the dangers of AI and technology and how things are proceeding forward. But these companies that fund um, you know Silicon Valley and all these tech companies around the world, they don't care. They want to get the fastest, best result, and that's the thing. And if it gets money, that's the end all. It's just green fake paper that we deem as valuable. It's interesting to me because, like you said, you can develop AI. You could have developed AI and not made it detrimental to the planet, not made its energy source water, which is like a lifeline on planet Earth, and then pollute it. Hmm?
I don't understand why water was the thing that we've talked about it for how long
Yeah.
about saving water. So why was that the very thing used? For, yeah, continue.
Yeah. It's just like to cool it down. And it's the same with like nuclear reactors. You use water to cool down the nuclear reactors, and then you have to do all this shit to decontaminate it, and it's just like and then you put it back out into the ocean, and then you eat the fish, and then the fish gets in the body, and now you're radioactive. It doesn't quite work that way, but like also it doesn't quite not work like that, because everything is a cycle in life. But that's just the ecosystem, right? No, but what Ashley was also hinting towards is putting your child's face online. And how that is used. And like you said, it's not just the people we know or celebrities, which is also quite concerning, but it's also world leaders when you think about that. What if somebody made a deep fake about somebody saying something and then it starts a war and then none of it was real? Maybe there are more people behind the line that can prevent that from happening, but the mass public, if they were to see that, what do you think most people would think? They wouldn't think, oh, maybe it's an AI, maybe, well, I don't know about that, especially with how good they're getting, that you can't even detect it anymore. It's ridiculous. And like, I'll let you go into it, but this is kind of like my last thing. There is this online conspiracy theory that has been going on for a long time called the dead internet theory. And I just wanted to bring it up real quick because these are concerning numbers. This year in Germany alone, was it 75 or 85% of the internet is ruled by bots? It's not human beings anymore. And in the States, it's a lot more. And by next year, it's supposed to be 95 to 98%. And you have to wonder, why do things like this happen? And there's one thing that is, I hope I'm able to relay it a little bit better, but if in case I don't, look it up for yourselves. But there are a few stages of warfare. One is land, one is sea, one is sky. Then there's another one, and the other one is internet, the web. And so you would have to wonder, why are AIs and bots and like supercomputers flooding the internet, distributing false information, AI generation, facial data, stealing from other creators that are already online who never consented for their face to be used, making apps, social media apps where this is a thing, deepfakes are the thing. Why is that happening? For what purpose? And my conclusion to that, or at least one of the reasons could be, is that we get less connected to actual human beings. So that once again, the way that we're disconnected in the outside world is now on the internet, because the internet is powerful, it can connect people, it can get information across really fast. And if you disentangle the web of how people connect and make everything look fake, where people are not sure if what they're seeing is real or not real, then you prevent important information to be passed forward and communities to be built. But yeah, here's the hot potato.
Ooh, it's too hot. Throw it away. I can't handle the heat. That's why I'm not in the kitchen.
That was good. I like that.
Again, it will never not make me not laugh as in the validation of it, but laugh in the annoyance of the fact that there are just some human beings in this world that they want to create, and they create, but then when they create something that impacts humanity out externally from themselves in such a negative way, the only thing that matters is the benefit that they got from it. And the fact that someone is allowed to put things out there like this, it's like when Elon Musk put out the the app in Japan. I don't remember what it was called.
Like like online girlfriend, anime girlfriend, something like that. Yeah, which is already really trendy in Japan, by the way.
You wouldn't even have to research. There are so many cons to it that you could list off right here, right now, as to why that is so harmful to people, really, to rely on AI in that way. Oh my gosh, it's just so frustrating to actually create something like that and to put it out there. And I think she's 21. I think that's and like the way that they have dressed her, and I guess the things that she does, the things that she can do. What would that validate in the mind of someone who has these desires to do things and maybe has not done them on another human being, but is now able to do them on an AI? Would that validate them to actually commit that towards other human beings? Because how would they be able to see the difference? Because you can't even assume that they can tell the difference between I'm doing this a on an artificial intelligence app. So now I'm experiencing the sensation from that. I'm going to go out there and continue what I'm doing here out there. Honestly, it just it's so disappointing. It's honestly one of humanity's biggest letdowns is the people that put stuff out that harm the collective. But as long as them and they'll probably tell their pals too. Like some billionaire came out and said, I wouldn't even use, that's right. The creator of AI, I think, came out and said, I wouldn't even use AI.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even use it myself. So you create it while knowing that you wouldn't use it because you understand you have that knowledge and awareness of the capability of it. And yet it's okay that humanity is because you're secure. Your survival is secure, right? When you've got your bank account and all that jazz, you're secure. Doesn't matter what happens to the collective as long as the collective keeps funding your security.
Right.
That's what it is, isn't it? With Elon Musk and every other billionaire and every other person that validates putting this kind of crap out there, as long as they are safe and surviving and thriving, it doesn't matter what happens collectively because, hey, we can't control it. We can't change it. There's nothing we can do about it. They're already, chaotic in their own ways. Like, what the fuck are we going to do? We'll just keep putting this stuff out to keep the addiction going and to keep the doom scrolling going and to keep them dissociated from reality. And we'll complain that people aren't mixing and human to human connections aren't happening and the population of birth is going down. Like, oh my gosh, no one's having children. Why is that? Well, maybe because you have men that are looking at artificial intelligence and getting their relationship from there, and no one's actually looking at their own behavior. They keep funding the loops. That's where I'm
Mhm.
coming from. They keep the elements of psychological, I'm going to call it warfare, going because essentially someone who needs something to cope will continually use it. And then that funds them to continually create from that space. They create from your survival. They create from you being in the space where you're constantly needing things and overconsumption of things to quote unquote survive, to take yourself out of a reality that's challenging. And I get this too. And it's just really just, I don't have a word to explain the anger and the disappointment that I have knowing that we live in humanity with human beings like this. Like I couldn't. Oh, it's like I know I'm about to go on a completely different road for this, but I just have to say this is why sometimes advocating for mental health is hard. And it actually gets me really fumbled up in such a way where I'm like, we know that mental health is so erupt in our society. We are aware of that. But then you see externally the very things that continually feed it, and you're sitting there going, did did those people will talk about mental health or they'll talk about some sense of um, human advocacy for human rights, but yet you just created something or you just put something out there that essentially feeds at least a loop of that or a system of survival within that. And I sit there and I think, we can have the organizations, we can create the laws, we can advocate for this as much as possible and talk about depression. We could talk about anxiety. We can have the projects. I've been a part of them. But I stopped because I thought to myself, we can continue to advocate, but as long as systems keep being created and loops keep being fed, where is mental health going to go? What resolution are we hoping for if everything is created through harm? Is
Mm.
created humanity for someone else's survival, for someone else's good time, for someone else's profit, for someone else's life to be stable and have the stability while everyone else lives in instability.
Yeah.
Deliberately putting people in instability, deliberately putting alcohol in certain communities and drugs in certain communities, like deliberately keeping people in a certain place so they are okay. And I don't care that I went on a tangent because it's just, this is like AI is included in this. 33, there was a guy on TikTok that I came across, and he was, I think, doing a podcast, and he was talking about how last year, 33 million images were downloaded of children because essentially they're creating videos of children and using it in corn, basically. And he was talking about, I mean, if you Google it, there are three main countries, the US, Australia, and the UK, who are known to have the most exploitative images of children. That's why he was literally talking about how parents should not be posting their children online, no matter who you are, even if you have your account on as private. Nothing's really private if you really think about it.
Oh my
As
God.
much as we want to keep it so, you're on social media, you're on the internet. The fact too is that when you post a photo of your child and if you put something over their face, there's software out there that can take that off their face. Or, you know what? Oh, it gets me emotional thinking about it. But when you post your children in the bath or they've just come out of the bath and you put a flower or you put a emoji, I'm not saying like a face, but you put something over their body, that can be taken off. That can be removed.
Yeah. And also, on top of that, because this is something that I've seen, not personally, thank God, but the discussions are there within the online communities and online spaces, is there are people who will steal your children's photos, celebrities' photos, anything that's public, and make fan pages out of them as if they are them, and then appeal to people who like content. And so, this is very real. People have ways of accessing these types of things. And therefore, if you add that with deepfakes and the constant underlining excuse of not persecuting and serving justice where it needs to and reform as well, it like you said, it's the loop. It keeps going and going and going, and we keep bypassing these problems, behavioral issues. Oh, it's the individual's responsibility. No, it's everybody's responsibility because everybody is affected, especially if water is affected on planet Earth. You know what I mean? Like, it's ridiculous. But yeah, that's laws are not caught up with our times, and I think more so than just technology, laws are not there to protect the majority of the people anymore. So it's like when you have no system that is supposed to be the backbone of society that actually protects people, why would these companies try to be better or try to change anything when there's no system in place to stop them from doing what they're doing?
Why would they protect you if you're not in their circle either? Because let's be honest, if you're not a part of the status quo for a lot of people in their own ego, and this is not just within those that have money, this is collectively, this is human behavior. If you're not a part of the circle, you're not protected. A stranger won't be protected. Isn't that the whole thing too? So if we think of it like that, then of course those that essentially put this stuff out and create this stuff and then take that money from all of this would see it like the only people that can relate to me are the ones in my position. So they're the only ones that essentially I'm going to support. And that's currently what's happening as well. Like with Trump and Elon Musk, like that whole thing, like supporting each other because they had that connection and they know and they have that experience. And even though it erupted, I didn't really give a crap about that. It's just the fact that they had a mingle anyway. You
They're
can
a
mingle
clique.
with someone who, yeah, they're a clique. You can actually have a clique with people who um, have, committed injustices. Just the fact that that's validated. So, of course, putting things out there that are not for the good of humanity will be validated as well. And let's think of, let me say it again. I just want to say with ChatGPT as well, I want to add this on a different subject for a second, because I mean, ChatGPT is AI, but I know a lot of people have had discussions about ChatGPT in terms of, telling people, how to use it, how to not use it. And I do understand, I do. And I want to add with that as well. When I was talking about the loops, this is one of them. You have so many people that are using ChatGPT as therapists because how is the, the field of that again? How is that? Oh, that's right. You have healthcare that works in stability with making sure that people have a mental health plan and actually are able to see a psychologist within a week. Is that a reality for the majority of the collective? Are people able to have access without having to pay a certain amount an hour? Do people have access to it because it's not stigmatized amongst the environments that they're in? There are so many things I could list off as to why people have turned to ChatGPT for quote unquote therapy. I'm not validating it. That's not the point. But I'm advocating for the reality that these systems that exist, we talk about how they're broken, but then we shame people for going to the next thing because it's available to them. Someone that lives in a certain area and doesn't have the accessibility. I mean, even a GP, we don't know the circumstances, especially here in Australia, of what they are experiencing going to the GP and having that conversation. Can they even have that conversation? What is the GP like? Because GPs are not qualified. They're not qualified for mental health. There are so many things that I could bring up to advocate that the shaming technique that people are using is completely unrealistic to what people are advocating for. And that's a loop. How do you advocate for people with low income, but then shame them for using ChatGPT? How do we have the conversations about what is happening within the mental health field, but then you shame people for using ChatGPT? It's just like I've known so many people who have been waiting a long time to see a psychologist because the waiting list is so damn long. And yeah, they can call up Lifeline. Here I'm speaking from. They can call them up too. But then again, how many cases have people experienced where they could not rely on Lifeline? And then even the system of support after that. Let's not act like it's perfect because it's not. This is also coming from experience. So I just wanted to put that in here too, that the expansion is needed with how we have conversations about ChatGPT because they put it out to the collective. They put it out to a collective that is struggling. And what does that collective do? Is going to use it. And if it gives them the opportunity to be heard where no one else is hearing them, they're going to take it. So there's that perspective.
Mic drop moment. It actually goes really, really well with the next topic of discussion when it comes to lack of effort, judgment on people for being human beings and existing in the world and being in your own space, and how dare you, which is, I mean, the video in and of itself, I don't like the way that things were worded and how it was titled, but essentially it was titled "When Highly Sensitive People Get Bullied." And Ashley and I talked about this before we got on, because we don't like that word choice, because I think it others people of like, there's normal people and then highly sensitive people, and there's no such thing. There's no such, well, there are people who are very in tune, who are empathetic, who are empaths, absolutely. But like the distinction of like normal and then feeling, they feel things. My God, a human who feels.
How weak of you. How inconvenient of you to feel.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna stay. I'm gonna stay on topic though.
I'm not eating. It does give that vibe when people use the word sensitive, because of the way that sensitive has always been known. It still has the energy behind it in that context of, oh, sensitive. You're very emotional, aren't you? You're very you'll be the type of person that can't take jokes, takes everything very seriously, you know. You're very highly like, if a ant passes away and then someone starts crying, or you're just very like sensitive to everything and uncomfortable, you know. Sensitive still has that attachment to it. That's why I think we both we don't vibe with the word, because it still has that energy behind it. So until society reworks, you know, these words, even weak, until the shit that's been attached to it is detached, then we're changing the words on this.
Yeah.
Personally. But the conversation was great.
The conversation was great, yeah. And it essentially, the clip showed a little bit about the person was speaking to a psychologist, and how kind of covert behavior is exhibited by people who either feel like they need to be in control or want to take control, or want to inadvertently send a message to an individual in a way that sounds friendly, you know, like if you speak in a certain tone or if you use a certain word, but a person who is aware and in tune with themselves and also can feel other people's energies and intentions, it is, I don't want to say abusive, but it is just suppressive and coercive and negative. And I can only speak for myself when I say this, but like, I can't tell you how many times in my life, and I just literally last week finally figured it out, where I have walked into a room, I have talked to people, either people I've known, I thought were friends with, or just strangers who, the second they get the vibe of whatever it is that they pick up on their end and however they internalize that. But if you're in your own space and you walk in, either you're bubbly or happy, or you're very kind and just open and authentic, I think a lot of people can see that as like, I don't know, I don't want to say threatening, but a lot of people get confrontational. And I can't tell you how many times I've had that happen, where I walk into a room and people start getting pissy with me for no reason, and only I can pick it up because of the energy that they exude, or the way that they look at you, or the tone of voice, or if they don't look at you. Or there are certain behaviors that occur where, you know, if you're in a group of people, for example, and there's one person there that does not like, you know, but nobody else understands, unless they're just as aware. And everybody, oh no, she's fine. No, they're fine. No, he's fine. No. They're just nervous, or because you're new, or it's not because of that. Do you think I walk around thinking, oh, everybody hates me, this person hates me, this person hates me? Like, do you think that happens on purpose? Do you think, like, for 1 second, that a person voluntarily walks around thinking this way? No,
Oh,
that doesn't happen. That doesn't happen. People pick up on the vibes, bro.
mhm.
Anyway, I'm gonna let you because I'm
No,
getting triggered.
you are allowed to get activated.
Um,
Absolutely valid,
nah,
because it is such a frustrating thing to actually express from the
yeah,
feeling to words what that experience is like when you walk into a space and you're just in your own space. You don't need to dominate anything. You don't need to control anything. You're just in your own space, your center. And then you come across someone and you can feel the passive aggressiveness, not just through their words, but you can feel it energetically. And
yeah.
you just know. And you think, mate, I'm just existing. What are you feeling? And you know what? I don't need to know what you're feeling. I just hope that you fucking look at what you're feeling and actually do something about it. That's the one thing that I find difficult to not feel frustrated over. And that's why you'll hear me drop some F bombs with it and I won't apologize. Because the amount of times that I've walked into spaces, as you were talking about, but in the experience of exactly that, where I've walked in and I'm in my own space. Mate, I'm in my own head. Okay. I'm filled in my own head of, am I going to do this wrong? What if it, well, this is unfamiliar. Am I going to get it lost? I'm already, within the center of self, keeping calm within self as much as I can, as well as the focus is on self, but also focus is also externally. But my energy is staying within myself. And you just walk in the room. You just walk in and you have people respond.
Mhm.
You notice the response. And there is a difference between seeking it out through your own trauma responses and through your own survival patterns. Yes. But there is also knowing human expression, knowing human responses, and knowing human behavior. And when you start to pull apart between the two of them, you will start to realize what is you creating it and what is actually externally happening right now. What is an actual behavior? So I wanted to detach the two and to see when I was creating it and when it was actually happening. And I 100% know when it is happening by someone else's response to the energy or response to my voice or just a response to what I'm doing or what I'm wearing, because anything can create a response from someone. You just existing creates a response from someone, you know? That's all it takes, which is horrendous for us as a collective to create spaces like that. Someone walks in, it's like, oh my gosh, I'm just going to upheaval that because I feel disjointed from this. I feel a little ungrounded from that. So I'm going to make it their problem. Yes. What did you do today, Larry? I made it someone's problem. That's what I did. Yeah. Don't be proud of that, please. I wouldn't be proud of it. And I've done it before, so it's not something to be proud of. Feeling senses of uncomfortability or feeling senses of jealousy or comparison or comparing yourself, anything that doesn't feel good, and instead of going within, everyone goes without, right? We always just put it on the person that has made us feel this way, even though they haven't. I'm going to tell you guys this story. So sit down, get your blanket, get your teddy, whatever you need, and let's have a story time. Okay. So I went to the library. I went to the library for what was this, a few weeks ago, do you think?
Yeah.
Yeah. For exposure therapy. I wanted to go to the library. I wanted to go to the library. I wanted to hire a certain book that I was looking for. And I haven't been since I was a kid, but also going by myself to certain places, as a little bit of context, is a process for me. It's a big process for multiple reasons, but I won't go into it. But I went, and I walked in and there is no desk. There was no desk at the front, right? It was off, like way off to the right, to the right, that I saw this other desk. But in this building, it's not just a library. There are other things in this building. I saw a sign right there when I walked in that said library. So I immediately thought, that's where I go, because I saw the books outside. This is from my own interpretation of the environment, right? Library, books, that's where I go. I walked in and it was the children's section. And I got that because obviously there was kid books everywhere and there was children. And I clocked it, okay, this must be the kid section. So where is the adult section? Because normally, from what I remember, it's in the same space. You know, there's no, like, if not the adult section's on one side, the kids is on one side, but it's all in one vicinity. It wasn't in one facility. The adult section was on the complete opposite direction, right on the other side, like right to the other side, but I didn't know that. So I said, I'm going to go ask someone to help me to at least find the desk that I can actually get my library card from. So I went up to these two ladies, but even before that, when I walked into the library, I clocked these two women that were sitting on the ground, right? And mind you, you guys have, if you've seen our episodes, you've seen me wear it before, but there's a coat that I have that's two-tone. So it's like one, well, what would you call it? One
side is
design,
plaid.
yeah. And then one other side is like a different style. And you know how I said that you don't have to do much for someone to respond? Well, people respond to that coat. And it really, somehow, it just, it erupts the insides of them. Like that, literally. I kid you not, the responses that I've seen from people, it's like, Sally, what is this coat that she's wearing? Ugh. I'm now going to spend the next 10 minutes talking about how much I don't like that coat and the audacity of her wearing it. And you've just spent 10 minutes of your life talking about fabric, the existence of fabric, a coat that's just existing on a person that wants to wear it. So you just spent 10 minutes doing that. That's your life. Go right ahead. You're the one who's wasting 10 minutes of it doing that. But anyway, people respond to that coat. They have responded, and I've told Nina some of the stories. It's just like one of those coats that really sparks people, you know? We really need an evaluation, honestly. So these two ladies were looking at my coat, and I was clocking it, and I was sussing it out. And I was already in my space because I was really anxious and I was getting a little overwhelmed because I knew I had to ask questions and I was getting myself prepped for that. But I was also like, they were there, right? And they're watching me. I hear one of them go, she actually walked in here like that. And I thought,
Yes, she did, bitch. What are you gonna do about it now, huh? Want to get some style advice? Because I just got it all going on, honey.
oh,
I wish I could
I
have been there. I wish I could have been there because I would have given them the stare. I would have given them the look of like, let's go, Ash.
when you go outside of the image that people hold on to, you I'm not saying you get used to it, but you notice the activation that it does to the collective. And you just, that's why I say many times people really need to look at themselves, because why are you activated by that? Why are you activated that I'm not wearing all black or in active wear? Why are you activated by that? I'm not activated by many going out in their active wear and just wearing that without going to the gym. I'm not activated by that. You wear what you want to wear. If you want to go out literally to like a lunch in your active wear, go right ahead. I don't mind. So why are you activated by something that goes against your own status quo? Please look into that. But anyway,
Yeah.
I ignored them. I ignored them because it's not the first rodeo. And they're obviously putting on a show for themselves. They're the only ones at the show. I'm not buying a ticket. So I went to these other ladies that were standing there talking, and I asked them. I said to them, "Do you know where I can get my library card? Do you know where the actual desk is?" And they literally said, "Oh yeah, it's on the other side. It's like all the way down. You've got to go right to the other side." And they actually they actually took me to the thing and they actually pointed to it, and it was like all the way down right. And I said, "Thank you." And I went on my merry way. I didn't look at the women. I didn't, no, done. I've got my eyes set on what I'm doing, not on your activation. So I went, walked to the other side, clocked the security guard as well, clocked that behavior because obviously he's just watching as I'm walking, just watching. Clocked it, but thought, no, I'm going to continue what I'm doing because I don't know what that is and I'm not going to worry about it. My main point of this topic, like this discussion though, is that there was a lady that I went to get my library card, and the surface level point of action that she took was helpful, but I could feel a sense of passive aggressiveness behind it because the words and the tone are very familiar to me. Like she said something, like I said to her, "I'm here to collect my library card." And she goes, "Yeah, you probably haven't been here, haven't you? You probably haven't been to the library in a while, haven't you? I'm just guessing." And I clocked it. And I thought, oh, so someone that like dresses like me or looks like me, whatever thing you've come up with in your own head, she must not go to the library. So is that what we're doing now? Are we picturing people who don't go to the library? We're just honestly, we have a human experience, and this is what we do.
Ashley,
Anyway,
I don't know if I can handle Australia because the way I would read people constantly, I'd be like, yeah, little tiny brain me needs to read books because the clothes are so nice. I lost all my brain cells.
yeah, that's the kind of thing I guess that we put it towards. Is she's probably thinking, "Oh my god, you're just like one of those girls who has no time for books or the library, and you're just like sitting at home and painting your nails and acting all dumb and all this stuff like that and da 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 da." Obviously, that's an assumption, yes, but her tone and her words was interesting, and I clocked it, and I was like, "I just haven't been to the library since I was a kid." Yes. Oh, but I'm not going to explain to you the reasons why, because why the fuck would I? You don't need to know
Yeah,
my life story. And it shouldn't actually get to that point. You know what I mean?
exactly.
That's where that's why we don't make assumptions, because you have no idea you have no idea that at this point in time, I'm actually doing exposure therapy for an anxiety that has debilitated my life. Oh, and then Mental Health Awareness Month. What are we doing that for again? We just don't think of these things at all. We just think that, doesn't exist. But we'll talk about it, but it doesn't exist. Anyway, as the time is moving on, and I was sort of, I got everything and da da da. I went and asked her for something else, and I needed a specific book, and this person went and looked it up. And then one of the questions was, is it personal or for uh, was it personal or for study? And then she said it out loud. And then I answered thinking she was asking me. And she goes, "Oh, I wasn't asking you. Like, I don't need to know." And I was like, see, this is the thing. There are so many other ways that you can word things. Because if it was me, right? And if I'm reading the thing and I'm filling it out and I say that out loud and the other person answers, I'd be like, "Oh, yeah, okay. No worries. I'll see what I can do in finding it."
You wouldn't be like, I wasn't asking you, actually.
Yeah, I don't want to know. Don't tell me. I don't want to know your problems. Yeah, nah. To sort of come to completion with the story, is that has actually been a consistent experience in my life where I feel like it's the fact that because I'm so in my own anxiety that I come across as soft or easy to dominate, easy to shush, easy to project ego. The amount of times that I've experienced that, even before I got to where I am today, it was a lot worse then because obviously I couldn't use my voice and I didn't know how to use my voice and I was too scared to use my voice and I wouldn't even step foot in that place anyway. But when I did step foot into other places like doctors' offices and seeking other professionals and even just going shopping, somehow the energy that they clocked gave them an upper hand to take that space and think I'm going to fulfill some kind of dominance that I have. Maybe I haven't had it in a while, or maybe my ego needs a bit of control right now. So they use passive aggressive language. They talk to you like you're not a human being. They use specific words that try to convince you that you're stupid or dumb and you have no idea what you're doing, or they make an assumption and then use that terminology of you must be stupid because of ABC. There's just, yeah, it's consistently within the passive aggressiveness that I've noticed. And I just sit back and I think you have a choice. I wouldn't answer anyone like that. So what made you answer in that way? What made you use the specific sentence that you used instead of using something else of, like, if someone has, like I said, if someone had answered me and I asked that question, what would be a reason for me to go, I don't need to know? Even if I'm having a bad day, what would be the reason for me to say to someone, I don't really need to know? You didn't need to answer. I wasn't asking. I would just say, oh yeah, I'll do what I can to find the book for you. You know, it's, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You do feel like you're under, I think you can maybe agree with this as well. You do feel like it's a deliberate, like it's a consistent thing where you can't exist in the world without being met with this kind of behavior.
Mm. Yes.
People always take this stuff too, and they think that you're talking about yourself in the way of, oh, goddess, goddess, like, oh, top of everyone. You're so empathetic. You're such a light. No, it's not within the context of that. It's just within, we're just being where we are at. We're just meeting ourselves where we're at. And why is it that when we step into certain places, we're being met with that kind of behavior? And how many stories are there of this? Like, yeah.
I live in Germany.
Why you just
I'm not gonna make I'm not gonna make that the end of my sentence, but my goodness, living here in Germany, and if anybody who has lived here or I don't know, it's just this. There's this overall energy that this country has, and I've noticed it when I flew in after I've been away. I notice it in my everyday life since being here after living in the States for like 8, 9 years. I used to live in California, if you guys didn't know, and people there, it's really interesting to see how people do microaggressions and like fake behavior in different countries versus your own, because it's culturally it's a little bit different. And in California, people will compliment you and be like really nice, but it's like completely surface level a lot of the time. It's not like deep, it's
yeah.
not like authentic, it's not like you're such a wonderful person. It's more like, oh my god, I love your shoes, yeah. It's nice to a certain extent because you're not like here getting looked at like constantly.
Yeah.
Exactly that face, Ash. You did it perfectly. And German people stare. Staring here has been a cultural norm for a very long time. It's like it's in the blood of German people. People just stare. They just look.
The flood of German people. Oh no. And then you just turn around. Do you ever do like the thing like
It makes no difference. They continue staring.
They might make
No.
them uncomfortable.
I don't think that's possible. I feel like German people need to be in the Olympics for staring. But but the overall energy here with people is constantly passive aggressive. I moved to northern Germany a little while ago because I had the impression that people here were nicer and kind of more open-minded, and I do agree with that. There's also Berlin. People are really nice. Berlin is kind of like its own place. Which, it's like the main city of the country, but like it's a world city, so it's very different from like other aspects where I'm from, which is the south, or like even northwest of Germany. The behavior in this country, it is looked down upon to be an individual. It is looked down upon to be different, to stand out, to be in your own light, and to reach for more than what the quote unquote norm is, which is like get married, have kids, retire, build your own house or move into your own house. And if you're outside of that spectrum, even with fashion, most people just wear sweatpants and a hoodie, which is fine. If that's your thing, that's your thing. I'm not shaming that. But if you step outside of that, best prepare to be Beyonce on a catwalk, honey. Like,
Da, 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 da.
My last birthday, I put a little bit, it really was not a big deal. I put a tiny little bit more effort into what I wore. I wore like this satin cream long skirt and like a poofy, like, I think it's called elephant arm shirt, balloon arm, something like that. And I love those. I love puffy like shoulders and arms. Like I love that stuff. That's my thing. And it was white. So really basic. In my book, that's basic. If I had more color, if I had a little bit of pop, a little bit of, something, that would have been different. But I was going for like the kind of more classic look because that was the vibe I was feeling that day. And so I went out for dinner with my mother, and we went to like a different city. We went to this restaurant. I'm telling you, I got out of that car and the whole street looked at me. The whole street. And people, women who were around my age, some of them were fine. They were just looking. I didn't get any vibes from them, of like, what is she wearing? That wasn't the vibe. But there were other people, and there were men as well. And they weren't like oppressive or like objectifying me, but it was just this hardcore. Just imagine you walk out of a car and then the whole entire street stops what they're doing and just stares at you. That is the vibe. And listen, I wouldn't say that I am like 100% like self-confident, and I wouldn't say that I'm 100% super anxious when I go outside. I kind of fall in the middle. It depends on the day and how I feel. There are days where I don't want to be seen and I don't want to be observed and I want you to leave me alone. And funny enough, those are the days where I always get the most attention. Weird. But then there are days where I feel like, you know what? I'm eating this. Yeah, I look great today. I feel really confident. I feel good in myself. And even if nobody else likes it, I like it. So I'm going to walk outside. And then when you get that reaction, there was like a point in my brain where I was like, it's fine. They're looking because it's different, and different is not wrong. And I'm eating this shit, and that's why they're all staring. So they can keep staring. So I'm trying to adopt this mindset, right? But like on the inside, because it's relentless, it is not something. The entire time I was out, everywhere I went, people looked. I just got depleted of my energy because it just got so tired being observed. And you'd have people who would like look weird. You would have men who would just sit there. I would walk by a restaurant, people would stop talking at their table and look at me, and I'm like, dude, really, it's not that big of a deal. I am not wearing a circus. I am wearing a satin skirt.
Dude. She's fun.
And a t-shirt. It's really basic. It's maybe a little bit more like the details like amplified a bit, but it was nothing. It was nothing. And so by the time I got home, I was just over it. I was just like, I don't think I will ever go outside ever again. Of course, that didn't happen. And I kind of just like restored my energy a bit. But there's that. And then there's also, I can't tell you, if people think, I mean, obviously, I'm not, white skin, blonde hair, blue eyes girl, German. I'm half German, half American. And people objectify you based on the way you look, based on the way you dress, based on the way you talk. In the States, I had people think I'm a criminal. In Germany, people think that I'm an immigrant. And so, there's like, there's always like this. When I go out, and this has happened recently a couple of times, and I go to a grocery store or something, there was one time where a guy started circling me, and I kept like seeing him in aisles. And there's always like this moment internally where I'm like, is it racism? Is he hitting on me? Is he trying to like gain the courage to approach me? Or is he just German? Like you never quite know in this country. Which is kind of funny, honestly. And he wasn't bad. He didn't do anything bad. He didn't make me feel threatened, but he was older. And so I was just like, I keep seeing you and we keep making eye contact and I'm not interested. But what is it that, like, I was prepping myself. And so it's either that, it's either the massive amounts of staring or the very, very dry, straightforward, passive aggressive, which is like, how are you straightforward passive aggressive? It's because people will say shit to your face, but not say what they really mean. But they'll say it to your face and they'll make you feel like you're the problem in a situation and a discussion and cause shit that you'd never cause. I can write a novel. I'm telling you one last story. I worked in a restaurant in my hometown a few years back. And I think I was probably around 21, 22, 23-ish, early 20s. I was young. I went to this place. It's like a mom and pop kind of restaurant. It was right across where I lived. So I thought just for like a little mini job, part-time job, this would be perfect, right? Because I was studying at the time. There was a 40-year-old grown man at that restaurant. I keep wanting to say store, at that restaurant. And I'm telling you, I have never been more bullied in my life than by that man, because I kept trying to like push it off and like laugh it off. But I kept getting like these weird vibes from the guy, and I couldn't quite place it because I can't understand when men bully women, because it doesn't make sense to me. Like, are you jealous? What is it that you have an issue with? And I'm a very direct person. If you have an issue with me, if I did something wrong, you can come and talk to me about it. But that's not the case. So one time I was clearing a table. I walked back in. You know what he did? We encountered each other in a hallway. He was coming towards me. I was going straight forward to the kitchen. He walked by me. He saw that I was looking down at the tray because there were a lot of things on it, and I didn't want to like throw it to the floor, trip or something. And sometimes I focus on what I'm doing. God forbid I look at the tray. It's like, you're not supposed to look at the tray. You're supposed to look forward. You know what he did? He tipped my tray over. Everything went to the floor. And now I had to stand there and clean that shit up. I was so mad. Look at my position. I was so mad that I almost punched everybody in the face. And everybody was laughing and everybody was kikiing and gagaing and everybody was having a grand old time. But I was the one who had to eat the shit and had to like push it down and be like, well, this is just the country. This is just how people are. And if you tell me that that's not how people are, I promise you, I have a billion more stories just like that. Because in this country, if you either appear bubbly, if you're happy, if you laugh a lot, God forbid, if you stand out in any way that people do not like, you will be pushed or suppressed or harassed or not objectified, but just vilified and insulted in whatever means necessary. And oftentimes at the most subtle level, in the most subtle level, they'll make you feel stupid. And I can't tell you how many times in my life that I've had to like work through whilst living here still, where I genuinely had to sit there and be like, am I dumb? Am I non-intelligent? And I'm like, no, I am intelligent. And actually, it's the people like in Ashley's style, like, oh my God, did she actually come here? Come in here? Yes, she did. Because you know why? people have the right to exist in the way that they want to exist. That doesn't mean that they're your entertainment. That doesn't mean that they're your cannon fodder to be talked about. And honestly, what kind of person are you that that's the conversation you need to have when you're with somebody else to talk about another human being just existing? Because that person wasn't bothering you. So are you that sad, pathetic, and lonely and mean-spirited that you have to spend your time talking about other people and what they're not doing and what they're doing and what they're dressed like and what? Get a life. Jesus. Anyway, that was it. That's my story. I am pissed, and I won't take this out of the podcast because it's what I mean. I say it with my full chest. Get a life. Get a personality. Be around people who are more interesting so that you have something else to talk about than other people and what they're wearing. I mean, how old are you? Are you 5? Grow up. High school is over. Oh.
Oh, it, as I've always said, it says everything about you if you keep choosing to spend your time making sure that the spaces of others are uncomfortable or unsafe.
Yeah.
I would honestly think that's a major issue if I was doing that to someone else.
Yeah.
How did you spend your time? So when you go to the afterlife and you get asked, how did you spend your time on earth? No, I just spent my days making sure that other people were extremely uncomfortable with existing in a way that I don't like. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, this conversation actually is, even that sentence brings us into the next topic, which is there was this man who made a video talking about how a certain personal trainer, due to her size, shouldn't be a personal trainer because personal trainers look like personal trainers to him. So what I'm saying is this guy is the god of personal training. So he is the one that created it. Yeah. He created it. He created health. He created body. So he must have created human. So he gets to dictate what is a healthy body, what is a personal trainer body, and what is not. So what a great conversation to talk about the god of body. The god of, you know what? It was funny too, Nina, just to say before I let you speak, there must be plenty of god of body people. There must be plenty because there seems to be a lot online that come out and say that body shouldn't be wearing that, or that body should not be deemed as healthy, or there's just the constant, like the constipation that you see people have with this. Like if you take magnesium, there's a certain magnesium that you can take that can release the constipation that you're feeling. That might help with the unpleasantness that you're feeling internally, you know? But yeah, there's so many gods of the human body. It's just religion. What's religion talking about? You know, there's never just this one. There's like, there's thousands upon thousands. So we're talking about one of them. I'm being sarcastic, by the way, if you don't, just in case. Yeah.
It's this person made it a thing to call out one personal trainer saying that a woman or a personal trainer in general, regardless of gender, shouldn't look, I guess, anything other than the ripped, super muscular, toned, or skinny, super slim body that then because it's not giving the right message to the people that they're helping. They have to be the image of perfection. And if they're not that, then they shouldn't be a personal trainer because this person clearly isn't healthy. He went on to just to insult this woman. And my thing is this, right? we've had many conversations and we will continue to have many conversations how body shapes, body sizes, weight, all of those things, how your body looks, body composition is all different with every single individual on this planet. Your
Mhm.
body will not look the same, not just with your own self throughout the entirety of your life, from birth to the end. Your body will shift, change, and evolve, but also everybody else's body type will be different from yours. So if you want to be ripped and toned and muscular, or super skinny, super slim Pilates, yoga girl, yay, and you want to gatekeep spaces, because this has been another discussion that I'm going to throw in here as well. Oh my God, why are all these people just coming into Pilates? This is not this type of, like, we don't just allow anybody to do Pilates anymore. Like,
I
this
know what
used
you're
to be
talking
such nice clientele. And like, not all these weird people are like coming in right now. Oh my God. Like, I can't enjoy Pilates anymore because there are people that don't look like me there. Like, what is wrong with you? I think I'm the one crashing out on this episode today.
No, we're both there.
Oh,
We're both there. There's so many gods, it's hard.
it is. It must be hard to live your life as this perfect human being and see us mere mortals in the midst of it all, right? Like, it is.
Well, God forbid.
Isn't that eugenics, by the way? If somebody
No,
doesn't look the way you wanted them to look, then they don't need to exist on planet Earth or in the spaces you occupy. Isn't that eugenics? Just question.
Nina, it's just a preference. It's just a
Right.
preference. Stop.
Yeah.
I've taught you better than this. Preferences are allowed.
Yes.
Like
Even if
the
they
preference.
dehumanize.
Exactly. Yep. Even if they leave you not wanting to leave the house, they're valid.
Yeah.
It's a
I
joke.
will. Yeah, it's still a joke, guys. No, I will leave it off at this. If you're in the space of caring for people's health, I can tell you right now, the most unhealthy person within that video that went online was the guy who made that video, was the guy who posted that TikTok, berated another person's health journey for not looking the way he wanted it to look, called her names, demeaned her to the fullest extent, and then told everybody else how to feel about fitness and what to believe about fitness and how to appear in fitness. If you are a real coach, a real fitness personal trainer, health coach, wherever you work within the health diaspora in the field of humanities, you would never in a billion years talk to another human being this way, because it's a reflection of you. And if that's how you look at a different personal trainer, how could you possibly look at clients that are coming in and want to work with you if their body is quote unquote out of shape, or they want to get fit, or whatever it means for them to be healthy? If you hear noise in the background, by the way, it's raining. I can't prevent that noise from coming through. We're all just showering in shit in society. So,
let's have a 5-minute break of meditation in the rain.
no, but like, you are your own brand. You are your own example. And if this is how you treat people, why would you ever expect a client to ever want to come to you ever again, or any person to ever work with you again? Because if you body shame somebody who's in the fitness world just as you are, how could somebody on the outside who wants to experience that for the first time or want to improve feel being in your space and in your presence? And you say, oh, that's just the way we are the image. Your image goes beyond just your physicality. It also goes with how you treat people and how you look at people. And if your judgment is placed on body type, I mean, you should not be in this business. You should be like a model or something. Go away. Oh, your turn.
Oh, done.
Oh.
You know, the conversation that we had before and this conversation here, I think they're reading from some imaginary book of life. And I've mentioned that before, but I honestly think that they're definitely reading from that book. I truly think. And as I said, there's so many gods of the human body out there that speak. And when they speak, it's like they're standing on the throne. They're like, nobody who looks like this shall ever experience health. But you should be healthy because your body is like that. But also, I'm going to ridicule you because you're exercising and you're a personal trainer. You know what? I think they're crashing out. I think they sit on the throne and they say this stuff, and then they're like, but, but, yeah, yeah, you know, I don't feel like, I think you should exercise, but also at the same time, I don't want to see it. And don't become a personal trainer because you don't look like how I want you to look. And then the tantrum starts. And then they start like slamming their thing and saying that, Andrew Tate is the best person in the world. And it just ripple effects from there. It's hard being God, isn't it? Because it's just like, it's hard. Like the mind can't cope with such suppression. I really empathize with anyone who thinks that a one body type speaks for the existence of humanity. Wow, what a suppression you live in. Here, you should read this book. See this book? This says Egypt, right? This book here, if you just turn away from your book of life and you actually just look at the front cover, it might snap you out of the illusion that it's like the US. The US isn't the only thing that exists. Look, there's Egypt. There's Egypt. Yeah. Do you understand what I'm saying? If you look outside of your reality, if you look outside of your preferences, you might realize that over 8 billion people, I don't know, look within their lineage. Also, their bodies move through the experience of mental health and physical health as well, the environment. You have people that are experiencing low income. So, what can they afford for stability for the body? And how does the body react to that? How does the body respond to that? You can't speak for something that is its own thing and goes by how it responds to that own thing. The body, don't speak for over 8 billion bodies. Don't speak for over 8 billion bodies. That's why I point my finger at you. I will never let anyone speak. Let me put my book down 1 second. I will never let anyone speak for my body. Never in a million years. Not even if you like to put those words, those suppressive words to it as people do. Even if you use those words, they will never speak for my body. Those words stay in your space. They do not speak for something that has been through its own experience. And I'm learning how to listen to it. And I'm learning how to interpret what it's communicating. And I make the decisions on where to go next. And if I became a personal trainer, because that is my desire, because I've learned so much about health, and yet this is what I show up as a personal trainer, then I will. Because you don't get to make the story of my body. You don't get to create what happens next. You don't get the control of where I take the journey next and where my body keeps evolving itself, like the path that it keeps evolving itself through. You don't get to make those decisions or have a say on it either. And if you want to use self-preference as the excuse system to validate this conversation, well, good luck. You can keep using that. You can keep pretending that self-preference gives you the leeway. Self-preference is valid because we all have it, but it's your choice on how you project it externally. You're not speaking from a self-preference. You're speaking from a sense of entitlement. You feel privileged to be like, oh, I think this body shouldn't be in this space, so I'm going to say that. And I think that, what did he say again? I think that the ISS should be involved. And I think that this person shouldn't be allowed to be a personal trainer.
Wow.
Wow, you really sat in that space, and you really activated over that. You know what
Yeah.
you know what's
Why is he
really
so triggered?
you know what's really healthy is to wonder why, is to actually go inwards and ask yourself why you were so activated by that. And then when you come to when you come to the root cause of that, which is the thinking that, this body should not be, should be segregated from the space of personal training, and that personal training has an image. When you get to the root cause as to why you think of that, continue to stay inwards and keep, looking inwards and assessing that and really holding your own space for learning externally from that. Because if you really care about people, you won't speak about people the way you just did. If you really care about health or the personal training industry, you would never speak about another human being in such a derogatory, suppressive way. You would never. You wouldn't even have that conversation because you would know that it's expansive and many people can become one. So who's to say what? Yep, that's my discussion on it.
I also just want to say this. How amazing is it to see people with different body types become personal trainers?
Yes, they understand as well. They get what
And
it's like to be
yeah,
in a certain, to have a certain body mass and to
exactly.
experience exercising with that, or even physical health conditions. Sometimes there's the relation towards knowing what chronic illness feels like and
Right.
exercising with that, We need that relation as well.
And then when you also compare it to, because this personal trainer that got called out is female, a woman's body is different from like, I don't understand it, but like, I will go back to this. I think what this woman is doing is absolutely incredible. I commend her, and I commend anybody out there who has a non-conformative body type, whatever the hell that means, who has their own body and chooses to live fully and wholly as who they are and what they look like. And if you want to change it, go ahead, do it in a healthy, truly a healthy way that incorporates your mental, emotional, and physical body and has a synergy. And then also go out and do the things that you desire to do. Be the person that you desire to be and help people in the line of that. When you show up in these spaces and you show up in your power and you do the thing you want to do, you inspire so many other people to do the same. How many people has this woman inspired? Probably millions, and she doesn't even know. And yet here's this guy in a car having a baby like meltdown because this woman didn't have the body type that he preferences as a personal trainer. As if, by the way, when we speak about preferences, being quote unquote skinny is not the preference for every person on the face of the earth, and definitely not every country on the face of the earth. So I just think it shows the small mind of a human being when they continue to perpetuate this image of health, when health, as you said so many times yourself, Ashley, does not have an image. It is simply your body working in harmony with the life you want to live and the person and the lifestyle you want to have, and your body being able to carry you through that in support and in health and in safety. That is health. And that
Yeah.
incorporates a lot more than having a six pack or arms the size of Dwayne Johnson. Like, crazy. And by the way, y'all shame men too. Y'all shame men too. Y'all shame men when they don't have abs and like big boulder arms. And by the way, not everybody likes that either. So what are we doing? What are we doing? What are we doing? Especially if you're a personal trainer. Like, oh my God, what a disappointment. As a personal trainer and as a human being, go grow up. Oh,
We really are. Like I do love advocating for human beings. I really do. But we're also a really big disappointment in other ways
yeah.
as well. Because we just keep doing things that keeps harm alive. Like we just don't look at the evaluation. A mistake is a mistake, right? A mistake is a mistake. But a choice and a continuation of something that you know is harmful is not a mistake. It's not a mistake. It's just, yeah.
And also, for anybody who might see this and be like, aren't you doing the same thing now by demeaning this person? I will say this. If a person goes online and doesn't mind their business and degrades another human being at the level that he did this individual, they have every right to be called out for their behavior. And it's not me bullying. This is me addressing the issue. The most offensive thing I said is that they are a massive disappointment, which they are, for their career and their choice that they made to be in this position, to go online and do what they did. Massive disappointment. Do better. I don't wish anybody harm. I'm not saying anybody needs to go harass anybody. None of that. But this behavior needs to stop, and it's not okay. And I'm out of words. I'm out of gas. We good. I think it's disgusting. Go grow up. Go actually understand and learn and expand yourself more in terms of what health actually is and how it appears and how different bodies coexist on planet Earth. And it doesn't need to be one tiny little image, which nobody can attest and live up to anyway. And by the way, one day your body will break down and you will die. Is this how you choose to spend your life and your time? And the same with, oh my God, did she just really walk in here? Yeah, go live a life. Go do something with it. Go expand your mind. There's a whole world. There's a whole world with so many different people and experiences and cultures and beauty. And there's so much out there. Of course, there's also bad. But like, you don't have to be a continuation of the bullshit that exists in society. It is time to stop. You're a grown person. In fact, I've seen younger people act better and with more maturity than adults in their 40s and 50s and 60s do.
Oh, well, that's another. That's definitely another topic. Oh my Jesus.
Yeah.
And that brings us to the last topic of human behavior, because human behavior, we talk about it a lot because it shapes our humanity, is the fact that there was a video online that I sent Nina of a woman with a gift walking in and dropping it in front of her husband and saying, "Happy anniversary."
It was yesterday.
Yeah.
You forgot.
Like you forgot again. Yeah. And the reason why I wanted to have this discussion is because I've noticed it quite a fair bit in person as well as online. And from my perspective, I find it fascinating the normalcy that we've created with something that, like I spoke before, is not a mistake, because it gets to a point where if you've been with someone for a few years now and yet you do it again and again and again, we're past a mistake. You're making a choice. I think this is a big, you know what, Nina? I honestly think it is a really big discussion, only because it falls in line with just how much we consider the spaces of others and love and effort and energy. And whether it's like with marriage, I do feel, and it has been shown many times through conversations and statistics, that generations before, obviously marriage was the thing that was needed for women. Like, women had to get married. It was very dependent on marriage in so many ways. But the cases of people that got married but didn't actually have that connection of what marriage needs, because you're living with that person for the rest of your life, I don't think it was there for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Or even if it was at the start, down the track, things just found itself discombobulated, you know? And then from that, lack of effort becomes a thing, or elements of neglect, abandonment starts to become an issue. So obviously this is a really big topic in so many ways because there's so many things that can join to it. But at the same time, the normalcy towards it, to something like that for the people we apparently care about. I mean, I hear a lot of people talk about community and wanting a community, but I see, how do you have a community if no one is willing to make sure that what human needs is presently there? And I'm not talking about perfection. I'm just meaning that the very things, the bare minimum of what we desire as human beings is there or is communicated to help guide it to be there, if so. And things like this, things that are important to people, the things that are really important, that's where I find it hard because something like that, an anniversary, is important to some people. And if someone keeps forgetting and that momentum keeps happening, I do understand why people walk away. It's not just one anniversary. If you forget one anniversary, it's birthdays. It's been birthdays. It will even be like children's birthdays. And if you want to see that, you can Google Jimmy Kimmel, that interview they did with fathers on the streets with their children, asking them, what is your child's birthday? Does your child play a musical instrument? And they
What's their
could
eye
not.
color?
Yeah, what's their eye color? And they could not answer. I know that life keeps a lot of us in survival, but human connection and having people around you also means being present in those spaces.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I 100% agree. You know, I think it's one thing to be, oh, I'm busy. I forgot. I can't tell you how many times I've seen it in other people around me, where, you know, like children would forget mothers' birthdays. And I'm like, it's your mother. She gave birth to you, you forgot. Or, you know, the father would forget like an anniversary or a birthday or anything that was, you know, semi based on family and not on career or on, you know, what private hobbies, hanging out with the guys, whatever, you know what I mean? And it's like, it's a
Yeah.
priority. You either make it a priority or you don't. And if you, like Ash said, there are a lot of divorces. I think what the statistic is 50% don't make it. Maybe even more than that. I can't remember off the top of my head. But it's because I think a lot of men, and I don't know if women do this too in other forms of relationships or if people of other genders experience this as much. Maybe it's a human thing. I don't know. But I think it's a thing when you acquire somebody and you're like, oh yeah, they're my girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever, they're
Yeah.
my partner, or oh yeah, they're my spouse. Now I don't need to put effort in anymore because I got them. That's it. I claimed them, and people can see spending the rest of your life with someone as like an achievement, like in a video game or something. You got there, now everything's done. I can sit back and relax and chill out. Like, no, it's a lifetime commitment. And that is with everything, every form of relationship. And that
Yeah.
requires effort. And listen, not everybody needs that. Not everybody needs flowers and this and that. You know, sometimes you just need quality time with somebody and that's enough. But like, are you listening to the people in your life and what they need from you? And in return, do you let your needs be known by them as well? And then also, I do want to say this real quick at the end. For people who choose to stay, what are you doing? It's your decision at the end of the day. But if you want somebody who takes care of you and really cares about who you are and how you are, choose to be in spaces that honor that, whether that be in friendship, in romantic relationships, at work, even. I
Yeah.
know not everybody has that luxury. I realize this, but if you don't get it in your private relationships, and especially in marriage with things like that, because it's like that determines the rest of your life, because that's the person you spend the rest of your life with, right? They impact you a lot. They impact your health, so many different things. But like, you deserve more, and you deserve to be in spaces where people actually care about who you are rather than what you provide for other people.
Mm.
And that's a whole discussion, but I'm going to let that just sit for now.
Last thing I'll add to it is that even if you bring up the topic that men provide, and that is enough, no, it's not enough, not for anyone. Even if I was providing, if you have children, you have to show up for the space of your
Yeah.
children. You can't just provide.
Yeah.
Like I said before, we rely on survival systems and we use them as the, well, I couldn't be there for you because I was surviving. That's not a fault. And I'm not blaming anyone because the system has been set up like that.
Yeah.
Who set that system up? But at the same time, it's hard because I know, like, I know of certain circumstances where it is difficult to be present in something that is nothing but upheavaled through the survivals. But I'm not going to go too far into the in-depth experience of the human experience. But if a couple of seconds can be given to the acknowledgement of the spaces around you, that is the priority. Giving that, it's not even an effort. It's not a chore, and it shouldn't be a chore. If it is a chore, that's a signification within yourself that something is tired, something is burnt out, something is internally going through. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's everyone else around you, but it could be. It could be that the space, some communication needs to happen. Maybe you need some time to yourself. Multiple things I could bring up. But providing is not the thing that brings a connection to the full circle of what that is and what it can be. I
What love
can't
is.
imagine. Yeah. If I had a family and if we were in certain financial positions and I went out and I provided and came home, but I was not present for anyone, why am I doing this? Why am I in this space with children? Why have I had the children in the first place? And yes, I know that's it's a big thing to say, but realistically, if I am consistently in that space and not giving it to the people that do need it because they're human beings and I'm a human being, I do want it too, right? There's no completion in a loop that feels shitty to you as well as feels shitty to the people around you.
Yeah.
You hear a lot of people that say, I provide, and they rely on the survival. But when you ask them, do you feel good about it? They do. They feel good that they're providing. But again, it always loops back to survival, like some sense of survival within that. I feel good about providing the survival element of it.
Also, providing doesn't just mean financial. You also have
No,
to provide emotional safe spaces too. And if you can't hold
yeah,
that, financial incentives of living together, if that is not the main reason you are together with somebody, is not enough to make a relationship actually flourish. You can't
you're
just
correct.
get the person and then everything is done and now you go
Yeah.
to work.
You can't ask for love where there's no foundation that's built on it. And the foundation that you rely on is providing
Yeah.
financial support. Well, I give her this and I give her that, I give her a roof over her head. But if there's no connection, you're just acquaintances or you don't even know each other and you're in the same position, you're in the same um, place as each other.
Yeah.
And again, we're human beings. Like naturally, we have desires and we love and we feel and we expand and we grow. And a lot of people find it hard to even get to that point of recognizing that because of the spaces they've been in where there's been a lack of that or barely anything in terms of that. And that's why remembering dates, remembering important things with the people around us is incredibly important. And you're like, what did you laugh at? What did you laugh
I
at?
didn't laugh at, but I just had something pop up in my head. You know how people say romance is dead? And I hated that shit. Like from the beginning, I've hated that. I'm like, romance isn't dead. You're just not giving any effort. If you're not giving any effort for the people in your life, of course, community, connection, love cannot form. Bonding can't happen. Growth within a relationship can't happen. And this is all relationships. If Ashley and I were to only sit down and talk to each other when we do this podcast, how would that form anything anyway? Well, I'm here. I showed up. That's not enough. You need to actually contribute more than just being. Anyway, yeah. Go ahead.
No, I think I've said what I needed to say for this topic, but there will always be more.
There is always more.
There's always more. I say it almost every time I put a video up on TikTok because you always get people in the comment section that are like, but there's also this and that and this. And it's like, yes, but one human being, and validating or even knowing every single expansion that also has its own expansions of the human experience, I would collapse. I need to sleep for at least 50 years for the rest of my life, potentially. Yes.
Also, one human being can have a lot of impact. Stop giving your power away and thinking you can't accomplish something or impact people in a good way. Like Ashley said herself, if all you have is 2 minutes a day to sit with your kids before or after you go to work, just to talk for a little bit, make sure that you're there, that they know you're there and that you love them, then that's okay. If that's right now all you are able to give, they will see your intention and your heart in that if you're genuine. You know what I mean? And that's always what it comes down to. If you're actually genuine about it, people will make room for you, even if it's not a lot of time. They will have understanding. But if you see whatever responsibility you have as a cop out of like, no, well, that's just the way it is. Well, no, I provide. Well, no, this is enough. Well, other people are this and that. You are your own person. Take responsibility even when it's hard, and you can find a way, even if it's 1 minute a day.
Yeah.
1
minute a day keeps the
relationship from breaking away.
Yeah, from breaking away. I just went complete opposite of where I should have gone. Anyway, this is officially our last What's in Our TikTok collection for the year. I cannot believe that I'm saying that. Pretty sure I said something like that last year. Who can ever believe when the end of the year comes, honestly? So it has been a really great segment. We do not know if we will be continuing it next year. That will be a discussion that we will have. Yes. But if you have enjoyed it, let us know. If you'd like us to continue it, let us know. Otherwise, if you don't, kumbaya, we decide anyway. So thank you for joining us in the last What's in Our TikTok collection for 2025. And until next time, folks.
Salute.
Leave people live. Let people live how they want. Don't dig. Let people live. Let people live.
Okay. All right, guys. Bye. Until next year. Bye-bye.
We're not finished now. Like, we're not leaving.
But if we come back for TikTok collections the next year, but you'll still see us.
There's not more episodes. Don't worry. Bye.
Bye.